the human who protected her childhood, finally revealed to the alien princess. She was no longer the little girl who had run through dark forests on a human colony, but she still felt the echoes of fear from those long-ago days. The memories were faint, like whispers in her mind, but sometimes they came suddenly, leaving her heart racing. She could remember running, hiding, and feeling completely alone, even when there were people around. She could remember someone, a human who had always been there, though she did not know who he was. The palace was alive with movement. Servants carried glowing trays of food, alien guards walked silently along the walls, and advisors spoke in quiet tones about politics and trade. But Lily did not notice them. She was thinking about her childhood, about the things she had almost forgotten. There were nights when she would wake up trembling, wondering who had kept her safe. She could not remember his face, but there was a feeling, a warmth in her memory that told her someone had been watching over her. When Lily was a child, her colony had been attacked by raiders from a distant planet. She remembered the screams, the fire, and the sound of metal doors crashing down. She remembered being carried through dark corridors by someone strong and steady, someone who never let her fall. She remembered hiding in the shadows while others searched for her, and she remembered the quiet voice that told her it was all right, that she was safe now. She did not know his name, she did not know if he was still alive, but she remembered him, and she felt a strange connection to him that she could not explain. Her advisors often tried to distract her from these thoughts. They spoke about alliances, trade, and new technology, but Lily's mind kept returning to the past. She wanted to know who had protected her, who had risked everything for a scared little girl. She wanted to thank him, to see his face, and to understand why he had left. One evening, as the twin suns of Jarin set, casting long shadows through the crystal halls, Lily walked to the balcony of her private chamber. The wind was cool, carrying the scent of strange alien flowers from the palace gardens. She leaned against the railing and looked out at the city below. The buildings shimmered in the sunset light, and flying vehicles moved silently between the towers. It was a beautiful world, but Lily felt a hollow place inside her, a space that only one person could fill. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock at the door. "Your Highness," said a young Jarin attendant bowing low, "a human envoy has arrived. He requests an audience." Lily straightened. "A human?" she asked. Humans were not common visitors to the palace. Most of the time, diplomats came from other alien worlds seeking trade or alliances. Humans were cautious and careful, and they rarely traveled to Jarin without reason. The attendant nodded. "Yes, Your Highness. He says it is urgent." Lily's heart beat a little faster. She did not know why, but she felt a strange pull toward this human. Something in her chest stirred, a memory that she could not place. She followed the attendant to the audience chamber, her long silver gown brushing the floor. The chamber was large and circular, with high ceilings that sparkled like stars. At the center stood a man. He was human, tall and strong, with short brown hair and clear green eyes. He wore a simple uniform, not the extravagant clothing of diplomats. He bowed slightly as Lily entered. "Your Highness," he said, his voice calm but steady. "I am Jackson Hale of the Interstellar Human Council. I come in peace to discuss trade and cooperation." Lily studied him carefully. There was something in his eyes, something familiar. She could not put her finger on it, but a feeling rose inside her, a sense that she had seen him before, though it seemed impossible. "Welcome, Jackson Hale," she said. "Please tell me why your visit is urgent." Jackson took a deep breath. "Your Highness, the Council has been concerned about recent conflicts near human colonies. We wish to ensure that Jarin remains safe, and that relations between our species continue peacefully." Lily nodded, listening, but her mind kept returning to that feeling of familiarity. There was something about Jackson, something she could not explain. She noticed the way he moved, careful and precise, as if he had been trained to protect someone, not just himself. There was a quiet strength in him, a patience and calmness that reminded her of someone from her past. Over the next few days, Jackson remained at the palace. He met with advisors, studied reports, and spoke politely with Lily. But Lily watched him closely. She noticed small things, a protective glance, a careful way of standing behind her when she walked, an attention to detail that seemed beyond normal human caution. These gestures stirred memories she could not name. She remembered being a child, hiding in the shadows, and someone always being there, watching, guarding. Could it be him? Could this human really be the one who had saved her so many years ago? One evening, Lily decided to act. She found Jackson alone in the palace garden walking among the glowing alien flowers. The air was fragrant and cool, and the twin moons reflected on the silver paths. Lily stepped forward. "Jackson," she said softly. He turned, surprised to see her. "Your Highness," he said, bowing politely, "I did not expect to see you here." "I need to ask you something," she said, keeping her voice calm though her heart raced. "Did you ever protect a human colony long ago? A colony that was attacked by raiders?" Jackson froze for a moment. His eyes widened slightly, but his voice remained calm. "I may have," he said carefully. "Many colonies needed protection at that time." Lily stepped closer. "Do you remember a little girl, blonde hair, green eyes, scared and hiding in the dark? She was very small and you kept her safe?" Jackson's face softened. He looked down at the ground for a moment, then back at her. "I remember a child," he said quietly. "Yes, I remember. You were very brave, even though you were scared. I tried to keep you safe. I hoped you would grow strong, even if I could not stay with you." Lily's heart pounded. She had found him. The human who had shaped her early life, who had risked everything for her survival, was standing right in front of her. "You were there," she whispered. "All those years you were there," Jackson nodded. "I could not reveal myself before. It was too dangerous. Even now I must be careful, but I could not let you face the raiders alone. I promised myself I would protect you no matter what." Tears filled Lily's eyes. She had carried the memory of someone keeping her safe, but now she knew the truth. The man who had watched over her was real, and he had risked his life for a small human girl. She reached out and took his hand, feeling a warmth that she had not felt for years. "I cannot believe it," she said softly. "All this time you were the one." Jackson squeezed her hand gently. "You have grown strong, Your Highness. You no longer need protection in the same way, but I will always be here if you need me." For the first time in years, Lily felt a sense of peace. She had been haunted by memories of fear and uncertainty, but now she understood. The human who had saved her was real, and he had never forgotten her. That night, Lily walked through the palace halls, her mind alive with memories and gratitude. She thought about her childhood, about the long nights hiding in fear, and about the quiet human who had been her guardian. She realized that courage could come from many places, not just from strength or power. Sometimes it came from a quiet, steady presence, someone willing to risk everything to protect another. As she looked out over the city of Jarin, the twin moons shining in the sky, Lily felt a sense of hope. She knew that the past had shaped her, but now she could face the future with courage. And she knew that the human who had protected her childhood was finally revealed. She would never forget him, and she would never take his sacrifices for granted. The palace was quiet that night, but inside Lily's heart, there was a light that would not fade. She had survived because of courage, because of sacrifice, and because of a human who had believed in her before she could even believe in herself. And for the first time in her life, she felt that she could face anything because she was not alone, and she had never truly been alone. The next morning, Lily woke early. Sunlight streamed through the crystal windows, painting the floors with soft colors. She felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. Yesterday had changed everything. She had finally discovered the human who had protected her as a child. But now she wanted to know more. She wanted to understand why he had done it, how he had risked his life for a small girl, and what he had felt all those years. Jackson Hale had already begun his day. He walked through the palace corridors with quiet purpose, carrying reports and messages from the human council. His eyes, however, kept flicking toward the chambers where Lily spent her time. He felt a mix of pride and concern. Pride, because the girl he had once protected had grown into a strong and wise princess. Concern, because he knew her life was filled with responsibilities and dangers, even now. When Lily arrived in the garden later that morning, Jackson was already there, studying a report on trade agreements. The garden was quiet, filled with the soft glow of alien flowers. Small streams of water ran through the paths, and the air smelled sweet and clean. Lily walked up to him slowly, trying not to startle him. "Good morning, Jackson," she said softly. He looked up, surprised but pleased to see her. "Your Highness," he replied, bowing slightly. "I hope you slept well." "I did," she said. "I have been thinking a lot about everything, about you, about the past, and about my childhood." Jackson nodded, setting the report down. "I understand. Those were difficult times. I am glad you are safe now. That was always my hope." Lily sat on a low stone bench, looking at the glowing plants. "I want to know more about those days," she said. I remember being afraid, hiding in the shadows, and feeling alone. But I remember a presence, someone who was always there. That was you, wasn't it? Jackson took a deep breath. Yes, he said quietly. I stayed close even when I could not be seen. I could not risk exposing myself. The raiders were dangerous, and if they had discovered me, it would have put you in even more danger. But I promised myself I would never let anything happen to you. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I never knew your name, but I always felt safe somehow. I felt like someone was watching over me even when I was scared. I kept hoping I would meet you again, but I did not know if that could happen. Jackson reached out and gently took her hand. I never left you in spirit. I always watched, always protected. Even when you could not see me, I was there. I wanted to make sure you would survive, that you would grow into the person you are now. Lily squeezed his hand, feeling a warmth that spread through her chest. I am stronger now, she said softly. I can protect myself, but I want to know about you. Why did you do it? Why did you risk everything for a child? Jackson looked away, his eyes focused on a small fountain in the garden. Because you were important, he said quietly. Not because of your title or your family, but because you were human and you were innocent. Someone had to be there. Someone had to make sure you survived. I do not think of it as bravery. I just did what needed to be done. Lily felt a rush of admiration. The man standing before her had sacrificed so much, had risked his life without seeking recognition or reward. He had done it because he cared, because he believed in protecting those who could not protect themselves. She realized that courage was not always about fighting battles or winning wars. Sometimes it was about quiet actions, unseen and uncelebrated, that made all the difference. Over the next few days, Lily spent more time with Jackson. She asked him questions about her childhood, about the raids, and about the people who had tried to hurt her. Jackson answered honestly, though carefully. He did not want to frighten her, but he wanted her to know the truth. One afternoon, they walked through the palace library, a vast hall filled with glowing books and records. Lily stopped at a section that contained historical accounts of human colonies. Show me the reports, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Jackson nodded and handed her a folder. As she opened it, she saw records of attacks, of human children being kidnapped or harmed, and of brave defenders who had tried to protect them. She looked at the names, some familiar, some unknown. Then she found a report that mentioned a small girl, alone and frightened, who had been rescued by a human operative. This is me, she whispered, her fingers tracing the words. Jackson placed a hand on her shoulder. Yes. That was you. I could not be mentioned by name in the report. It was too dangerous, but I was the one who ensured you survived. Lily felt a surge of gratitude. I cannot believe you did all this for me, she said. I do not even know how to thank you. Jackson shook his head. There is no need for thanks. Your life was worth protecting. That was enough for me. As they continued to talk, Lily realized that she had more questions than answers. She wanted to understand his life, his choices, and the sacrifices he had made. She wanted to know how he had trained, how he had planned, and how he had stayed so calm in dangerous situations. Jackson shared what he could. He told her about his training as a human operative, about the skills he had learned to survive in hostile environments. He spoke about the nights he had spent tracking raiders, the quiet moments when he had watched over her from a distance, and the fear he had felt every time danger approached. Lily listened intently. She could almost see the scenes in her mind, the dark corridors, the hidden rooms, the moments when Jackson had risked everything to save her. She realized that the life she had taken for granted, growing up in safety and comfort, had been made possible because of him. You were always so brave, she said finally. Even as a child, I could feel it. Even when I was scared, I felt safe because of you. I never understood how you could do it, but I am glad you did. Jackson smiled faintly. Bravery is not about being fearless. It is about doing what must be done even when you are afraid. I was afraid many times, but I could not let that stop me. Lily nodded, feeling a deep respect for him. She realized that her life, her strength, and her courage were all connected to his actions. She also realized that she wanted to learn from him, to understand how to be strong and how to protect others, just as he had protected her. The days passed, and Lily and Jackson grew closer. They walked through the gardens, discussed history and strategy, and sometimes simply sat in silence, enjoying the quiet beauty of the palace. Lily began to see him not just as a protector from her past, but as a person with thoughts, feelings, and experiences. She began to trust him, and she began to understand that their connection went beyond the events of childhood. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Lily asked Jackson about his life after he had left the colony. "Where did you go?" she asked. "Why did you not come back sooner?" Jackson looked thoughtful. "I had to continue my work," he said. "There were other colonies, other children who needed protection. I could not risk returning to you openly because the enemies might still be searching. I watched from a distance, hoping you would grow strong and safe. That was my way of staying close, even if I could not be seen." Lily felt a mixture of sadness and admiration. She had missed him for so many years, yet she understood why he had done it. His dedication had been absolute, and it had required immense patience and courage. "I am grateful for everything you did," she said softly. "I could not have survived without you. I want you to know that your sacrifices were not in vain. I am alive because of you, and I will not forget it." Jackson looked at her, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and humility. "You are stronger than you know, Your Highness. You have grown into a leader, a person capable of great things. I only helped you find your path. The rest was always yours to shape." That night, as Lily lay in her bed, she thought about Jackson, about the life she had lived, and about the years of mystery and longing. She realized that her story was not just about survival or courage, but about the connections between people, the quiet acts of bravery that shape lives, and the bonds that can endure even across years and distance. She felt a sense of hope and determination. She knew that the future held challenges, but she also knew that she had allies, friends, and protectors. She had discovered the human who had watched over her, and that knowledge gave her strength. She had finally connected the past to the present, and with that connection, she felt ready to face whatever came next. Lily also realized that there was more to discover. Jackson's presence in her life opened new possibilities, not just for understanding her past, but for shaping the future. She could learn from him, work with him, and perhaps even rely on him in ways she had never imagined. The bond between them was no longer one-sided. It was growing into a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared experience. The palace was quiet as the moons shone overhead. Lily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of her responsibilities and the warmth of Jackson's presence. She knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test her courage, wisdom, and heart. But for the first time in a long while, she felt ready. She was not just a princess, not just a survivor. She was a human who had been shaped by bravery, love, and sacrifice. And now she had found the one who had started it all. Days passed, and Lily could not stop thinking about Jackson. She walked through the palace halls, watched over the gardens, and sometimes found herself standing on the balcony, looking at the city below, her mind full of questions. She knew he had protected her when she was a child, but she wanted to know everything. She wanted to understand the dangers he faced, the choices he made, and why he had stayed away for so long. One morning, she found him in the council chamber. He was reading reports quietly, his expression serious. The council members were preparing for a meeting, discussing trade, technology, and peace agreements. Lily stepped forward, feeling a strange mix of curiosity and nervousness. "Jackson," she said softly, "can we talk?" He looked up and smiled faintly. "Of course, Your Highness," he replied. "What would you like to discuss?" Lily hesitated for a moment, then sat down across from him. "I want to understand more about my childhood. I want to know what happened from your point of view. I want to see the events as you saw them." Jackson nodded. He closed the report and leaned back slightly. "Very well, but you must be ready. Those were dangerous times, and some memories are difficult to recall." "I am ready," Lily said firmly. Jackson began to speak. He described the colony where Lily had lived as a small child. It had been a remote human settlement, surrounded by forests and mountains. The humans there had lived quietly, farming and building homes, unaware that raiders from a nearby star system had been planning attacks. "When the raids began," Jackson said, "chaos spread quickly. Many people were injured and some were taken. The colony's defenses were weak. You were just a small child, and the adults were focused on saving as many as they could. I knew I had to act, even if it put me in danger." Lily listened carefully, trying to picture the events. She remembered the fear, the running, and the hiding, but hearing it from Jackson's perspective added new depth. She imagined him moving through the colony, watching over her, fighting off threats and keeping her safe from the shadows. "I remember carrying you through dark halls and forests," Jackson continued. You were small, frightened, and crying, but you were also brave. You trusted me without knowing me, and that made my task both easier and more difficult. I could not let you see fear, but I could not stop feeling it myself. Every step I took could have been the last. Tears filled Lily's eyes. She had never understood how much he had risked for her. I did not know, she whispered. I never knew how dangerous it was. I only remember feeling safe even when everything else was terrifying. Jackson smiled faintly. That was the point. You needed to feel safe. You needed to survive. I stayed in the shadows, watching and guiding. I could not reveal myself because that would have made both of us targets. But I promised myself I would never let anything happen to you. Lily thought about all the times she had felt alone, all the nights she had hidden in fear. And yet someone had been there unseen, protecting her. She felt a wave of gratitude and awe. I cannot believe you did all of that, she said softly. You risked everything for a small child. I don't know how to thank you. Jackson shook his head. No thanks are needed. I only did what was necessary. You were worth protecting. That was enough for me. Over the next several days, Lily and Jackson spent more time together. They walked through the palace gardens, talked in the library, and sometimes simply sat in silence, enjoying each other's presence. Lily asked about every detail she could remember from her childhood, and Jackson patiently filled in the gaps. He told her about the nights he had spent hiding in the trees outside the colony, watching over the perimeter, and how he had fought off raiders with quick thinking and careful planning. I was afraid many times, Jackson admitted one evening. But fear does not mean failure. It only means you care about the outcome. I cared about your safety more than anything else. Lily nodded, understanding more than ever the depth of his courage. I want to learn from you, she said. I want to be strong like you. Not just in battle, but in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Jackson looked at her thoughtfully. Strength comes in many forms, Your Highness. Physical strength is useful, but courage, patience, and wisdom are often more important. You already have those qualities. My role was only to guide and protect you until you could stand on your own. The bond between them grew stronger. Lily realized that she could trust Jackson completely. He had been honest, brave, and patient. He had never sought recognition or reward, yet his actions had changed her life completely. She felt a deep connection to him, one that went beyond childhood memories. One afternoon, Lily asked Jackson about the other humans who had been involved in protecting colonies. Were there others like you? She asked. Jackson nodded. Yes, there were others, brave men and women who risked their lives to protect those who could not defend themselves, but I was assigned to your colony specifically. I made it my mission to keep you safe, no matter the cost. Lily's eyes filled with tears again. You carried that responsibility for me alone, she whispered. Jackson nodded. Yes, it was a heavy burden, but I would do it again. You survived because someone cared enough to take that risk. You must never forget that. As days turned into weeks, Lily began to see Jackson not only as her protector, but also as a teacher and guide. She practiced strategy and planning with him, learning how to anticipate danger, how to assess risks, and how to act decisively when needed. She discovered that courage was not just about facing threats, but also about making careful choices, about thinking ahead and understanding the consequences of every action. One evening, as they walked along the palace balcony, Lily asked Jackson about the moment he had left her colony. Why did you disappear? She asked. Why did you leave when I was growing up? Jackson looked out over the city, his expression thoughtful. I could not stay. The enemies were still a threat, and returning openly would have put you and many others at risk. I stayed nearby when I could, watching from a distance, making sure you were safe. But I could not reveal myself until now. That was the only way to protect you fully. Lily felt a mix of sadness and understanding. She had longed to see him for years, yet she realized that his absence had been necessary. I understand, she said softly. Even if I did not see you, you were always there. Jackson nodded. Always, that is the truth. You are alive, strong, and capable because you survived, and because someone believed in your survival. I only provided guidance and protection until you could face the world on your own. Lily thought about her childhood again, the fear, the hiding, and the nights she had cried alone. But now she could also remember the presence that had given her comfort, the quiet strength that had allowed her to endure. She realized that her life, her growth, and her courage had been shaped not only by her experiences, but also by Jackson's unwavering care. In the following days, Lily began to share small parts of her discovery with her advisors and trusted friends. She spoke carefully, aware of the political implications of acknowledging a human operative in her past. But she also felt a growing confidence, knowing that Jackson's actions had been honorable and courageous. She wanted others to understand the true meaning of bravery, the quiet sacrifices that often went unnoticed. As Lily and Jackson continued to work together, the palace began to feel alive in a new way. The halls and gardens, once places of formal duty and ceremony, now held the warmth of shared history and understanding. Lily felt stronger, not just as a princess, but as a human who had been shaped by acts of courage, loyalty, and protection. One afternoon, as the twin moons rose over Jarin, Lily and Jackson stood in the palace courtyard. The air was cool and fragrant, and the silver paths reflected the soft light. Lily looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything. I will never forget what you did for me. You saved my life and you shaped who I am today." Jackson bowed his head slightly. "You do not need to thank me. You survived because of your courage and strength. I only guided you along the way." Lily smiled, feeling a sense of completeness she had never known. She realized that the past and present were now connected. She had discovered the human who had protected her, and that knowledge gave her the strength to face the future with confidence. The palace was quiet as they stood together, but inside, Lily's heart was alive with understanding, gratitude, and hope. She knew that challenges would come, that dangers would arise, and that difficult choices lay ahead. But she also knew that she had allies, guidance, and a human who had proven that courage and care could endure across time and distance. For the first time in years, Lily felt fully seen, fully understood, and fully safe. She had faced her past and discovered the truth. She had found the human who had shaped her childhood, and she knew that their bond would guide her as she faced the future. And for the first time, Lily truly believed that courage, loyalty, and love, quiet, unspoken, and unwavering, could change the course of a life, a kingdom, and perhaps even the future of two worlds. The palace was alive with preparations. Lily walked through the halls, her mind heavy with thoughts. She had discovered the human who had protected her as a child. She had spent days learning about him, understanding his courage and patience, and building a bond of trust. Now she faced a new challenge: how to acknowledge him without creating conflict. Jackson Hale had been staying quietly at the palace. He helped with planning and discussions, always careful, always calm. He knew the importance of secrecy. Many in the palace would not easily accept a human being given recognition for actions in the past. He had been invisible for a reason, but he also knew that Lily wanted to honor him, to make the past real and present. One morning, Lily asked Jackson to join her in the council chamber. She had summoned her advisors and a few trusted officials. The room was large and circular, filled with holographic maps and documents. Her advisors looked at her curiously as she entered with Jackson by her side. "Your Highness," one advisor said, bowing slightly, "you requested this meeting?" "Yes," Lily replied, her voice calm but firm. "I have something important to share. Something from my past that affects the present and the future." The advisors exchanged glances. They were used to matters of trade, technology, and diplomacy, but this felt different. Lily continued. "When I was a child, my colony was attacked. Many people were lost. I was small, scared, and alone, but I survived because someone protected me. That person is here with me now." She turned to Jackson. "Jackson Hale," she said, her voice steady. "He is the human who saved my life. He protected me when I could not protect myself. He risked everything for me, and he has never forgotten it." The room fell silent. The advisors stared at Jackson, some in surprise, others in disbelief. A few whispered quietly to each other. Humans were rarely recognized in the Jarin court, and for one to be acknowledged as a protector of a princess was almost unheard of. Jackson stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "I only did what was necessary," he said quietly. "I did not act for recognition or reward. I was assigned to your colony and made a promise to protect you. That promise guided every action I took." Lily nodded, her eyes on him. "His actions shaped who I am today. I survived because of him, and I am stronger because of him. I want all of you to understand the importance of courage, loyalty, and quiet sacrifice. Jackson embodies all of that." An elder advisor, a tall Jarin with silver hair, spoke slowly. "Your Highness, we respect your words, but humans are not commonly honored in this way. Their ways are different from ours. We must consider the implications. Lily looked at him calmly. I understand, but I am not asking for politics. I am asking for truth. The truth is that Jackson saved my life. The truth is that I am here because of him. And that truth deserves recognition, no matter the complications. Another advisor frowned. And what of our allies? What message will this send? That humans can intervene in our matters? Lily shook her head. It is not intervention. It is acknowledgement of courage and care. The past cannot be changed, but the present can honor it. I am asking for justice, not politics. The council fell silent again. Jackson remained calm, but Lily could see the tension in his posture. He had lived in the shadows for years unseen, and now he was being revealed to an entire court. He had expected some resistance, but he also trusted Lily's judgment. Finally, Lily spoke again. I will not compromise on this. Courage deserves recognition. Sacrifice deserves respect. Jackson Hale is a hero, and I ask you all to see him as I see him. The advisors studied her carefully. They knew Lily was firm in her decisions. She was no longer a child, no longer inexperienced. Her voice carried authority. Slowly, one by one, the advisors nodded, some reluctantly, some with a newfound respect. After the meeting, Lily and Jackson walked through the palace gardens. The soft light of the twin moons reflected on the silver paths, and the alien flowers glowed gently. Jackson looked at Lily. You handled that well, he said quietly. I was not sure how the council would respond. Lily smiled faintly. I had to. They needed to understand. You saved my life, Jackson. I could not let your actions remain hidden any longer. Jackson nodded. Thank you, but you must know your words gave me more honor than any ceremony could provide. You are alive, strong, and capable. That is the true reward for everything I did. Lily felt a warmth in her chest. You deserve more than that. I want people to know. I want the future to remember what you did. As the days passed, Lily began planning a ceremony to publicly honor Jackson. The palace was filled with preparation. Invitations were sent to officials, representatives, and allies from other worlds. The halls were decorated with glowing banners and crystalline lights. Jackson remained quiet, helping where needed, but allowing Lily to take the lead. On the day of the ceremony, the palace courtyard was filled with people. Jarin officials, alien allies, and humans from nearby colonies gathered to witness the event. Lily stood on a raised platform, her silver gown flowing in the soft breeze. Jackson stood beside her, calm but attentive. Lily spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the courtyard. Today I honor a human who shaped my life. When I was a child, my colony was attacked, and I was alone and scared. I survived because someone cared enough to protect me. That human is Jackson Hale. He risked everything to ensure my safety. He acted without expectation, without reward, and with courage that changed the course of my life. The crowd listened in silence. Some whispered among themselves, amazed by the story. Others looked at Jackson with newfound respect. He stood tall, his posture humble, his eyes calm. Lily continued. His actions show that courage is not just in battles, but in quiet, steady sacrifice. His bravery allowed me to grow, to learn, and to lead. I ask you all to recognize his contributions, not just as a human, but as a hero. The courtyard erupted in applause. Some cheered, some bowed, and some approached to speak quietly with Jackson. He remained composed, acknowledging their respect with humility. Lily felt a sense of relief and pride. She had honored the human who had protected her, and she had done so with integrity and courage. After the ceremony, Lily and Jackson walked through the quiet palace gardens. The twin moons shone brightly, reflecting in the silver paths. Lily looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. It is done, she said softly. They know the truth now. Jackson nodded. Yes, and they will remember it. Your courage in acknowledging the truth gave my actions meaning beyond what I could have imagined. Lily smiled faintly. It feels strange seeing you recognized. You have always been in the shadows, and now the world sees you. Jackson shrugged lightly. The shadows were necessary. Recognition is secondary. What matters is that you are alive and strong, that your life was shaped by acts of care and courage. Lily looked around at the glowing flowers and the quiet streams. She realized that this was more than recognition. It was a bridge between humans and Jarin, between past and present, and between courage and leadership. Jackson's actions had not only saved her life, but also set an example of integrity and honor that could inspire others for generations. That night, as Lily rested in her chamber, she thought about everything that had happened. She thought about her childhood, the dangers she had faced, and the human who had risked everything for her. She felt a deep sense of gratitude, understanding, and connection. She realized that her life, her strength, and her leadership were all tied to acts of bravery and sacrifice that often went unseen. Jackson stood quietly outside, watching the palace lights reflect on the silver paths. He felt a quiet satisfaction. He had fulfilled his promise, and now the truth was known. But more than that, he felt a bond with Lily that went beyond duty or mission. He had been a protector, and now he was a trusted ally, a guide, and a friend. The next days were filled with reflection and planning. Lily began to involve Jackson in discussions about security, alliances, and strategy. His experience and calm judgment were invaluable, and she realized that his presence could help her lead with wisdom and courage. Together, they began building a stronger, safer, and more united palace and planet. Through it all, Lily never forgot the quiet moments of her childhood, the nights of fear, and the unseen hand that guided her through danger. She understood that true courage was not always loud or visible. Sometimes it was quiet, steady, and constant, just like Jackson had been. And as the moons rose over Jarin, casting silver light across the city, Lily felt a new sense of purpose. She had honored the past, recognized the courage that had shaped her, and built a connection that would guide the future. She knew challenges were still ahead, but she also knew she was not alone. She had the human who had protected her childhood, now revealed and recognized, walking beside her, and together they could face whatever came next. The days after the ceremony were filled with change. The palace felt alive in a new way, and Lily could feel a shift in the way people looked at her. Jackson was no longer just a visitor or a human envoy. He was recognized as the protector of the princess, the human who had saved her childhood. People treated him with respect, some with awe and some with quiet admiration. Lily walked through the palace halls, reflecting on everything that had happened. She remembered the little girl she once was, hiding in fear, trembling in the dark. She remembered the presence that kept her safe, the quiet human who had risked his life for her. Now, that human stood beside her, recognized and respected, and she felt a mix of gratitude and responsibility. Jackson had settled into the palace as a trusted advisor. He was not only a guide to Lily personally, but also an example to her people. His calm strength, careful planning, and quiet courage inspired both humans and Jarin alike. Lily realized that he had become more than a protector. He was a bridge between worlds, a living example of the best qualities of humanity. One morning, Lily and Jackson walked through the gardens together. The alien flowers glowed softly, and small streams reflected the sunlight. Lily spoke first, her voice thoughtful. "Jackson, now that the truth is known, I feel a weight lifted from my shoulders, but I also feel the responsibility to use this knowledge wisely. Your actions saved me, and now I must honor that by leading well." Jackson nodded. "You already do, Your Highness. You survived, you learned, and you grew strong. That is your honor. I only helped you find your path. You shape your own future." Lily looked at him, her green eyes shining. "But I want to make sure your sacrifices are remembered, not just by me, but by everyone. People need to know what true courage looks like. You showed me that it is not always about fighting battles or defeating enemies. Sometimes it is about quiet acts, unseen and uncelebrated, that shape the future." Jackson smiled faintly. "Recognition is not necessary, but if it inspires others, then it is worth it." In the weeks that followed, Lily began implementing changes in her court. She encouraged collaboration between humans and Jarin, promoting understanding and shared knowledge. She invited humans to train alongside her people, sharing tactics, strategies, and values of courage and loyalty. Jackson guided her in these efforts, quietly advising and supporting, but always letting her lead. The palace guards and officials began to see the value of this human perspective. Jackson's calm, careful approach contrasted with the sometimes rigid and formal ways of the Jarin. He emphasized patience, observation, and careful planning. Over time, the court began to respect his wisdom and experience, and Lily noticed a subtle but meaningful shift in attitudes. One evening, Lily and Jackson walked to the balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons reflected on the silver towers and flowing streams of the city below. Lily leaned on the railing, her mind full of thoughts. "Jackson," she said softly, "I keep thinking about those nights when I was small and afraid. I keep thinking about how different my life could have been if you had not been there. Jackson looked at her, his eyes steady and calm. You survived because of your courage as well. I only helped guide and protect. You made choices even as a child that allowed you to endure. My role was only to ensure those choices could matter, Lily nodded. But you risked everything for me. You could have been hurt, captured, or worse, and yet you stayed, you never left. That means more to me than anything else. Jackson's expression softened. It was never about recognition or reward. It was about doing what was right. Protecting you was the only choice I could make. It was my duty and my honor. Lily felt a wave of emotion. She had spent so many years wondering about the human who had shaped her life. Now she not only knew the truth but had the chance to honor it and learn from it. She realized that courage, loyalty, and sacrifice were not just words. They were actions that defined people, actions that could shape entire worlds. Over the next month, Lily worked closely with Jackson to improve the security of the palace and the city. They trained together, strategized, and discussed plans for trade and defense. Lily began to feel more confident in her role as princess. She knew that her leadership was strengthened by the lessons she had learned from Jackson, lessons of patience, courage, and careful planning. One afternoon, as they walked through the palace archives, Lily asked about the other humans who had served as protectors in distant colonies. Were there others like you? She asked. Jackson nodded. Yes. Many humans risked their lives to protect those who could not protect themselves. Each one acted with courage and care, often without recognition. I only happen to be assigned to you, but all of them share the same values. Lily thought about that. It makes me realize that courage is everywhere, not just in battles or wars. It is in the quiet acts, the choices we make to protect others, even when it is difficult or dangerous. I want my people to understand that. I want them to see that true leadership is not just about power, but about care and responsibility. Jackson smiled. You are already teaching them, Your Highness. By recognizing the truth, by honoring the past, and by guiding your people with wisdom, you are setting an example that will last for generations. As days turned into weeks, the bond between Lily and Jackson grew stronger. They shared stories, strategies, and quiet moments of reflection. Lily felt safe, understood, and inspired. She knew that she could face any challenge, not just because of her own strength, but because of the courage, wisdom, and guidance of the human who had saved her. One night, as the moons rose high over the city, Lily stood on the balcony with Jackson. The city below was quiet, peaceful, and bathed in soft silver light. She took a deep breath and spoke. Jackson, I want you to know that you are more than a protector. You are a guide, a teacher, and a friend. You have shaped my life and you continue to shape the future. I will never forget that. Jackson looked at her, his eyes calm and steady. Your Highness, it has been my honor. I only did what I promised myself to do. But seeing you strong, alive, and capable, that is more than enough. That is the reward I have always sought. Lily smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. I want the future to remember you, not just me, but everyone. Your courage, your patience, your quiet sacrifice, they deserve to be known. People need to see what true bravery looks like. Jackson nodded. If that is what you wish, I will trust you to tell the story. But remember, true courage is in action, not in recognition. What matters is that lives are saved, that hope endures, and that the future is shaped by care and loyalty. Lily looked out over the city, thinking about the future. She saw a world where humans and Jaren could work together, where courage and care were valued, and where sacrifices were honored. She knew challenges would come, enemies would rise, and dangers would appear. But she also knew she was not alone. She had the human who had protected her childhood, walking beside her, and together they could face whatever lay ahead. In the days that followed, Lily began implementing changes across the city and the palace. She encouraged collaboration between humans and Jaren, training programs and shared knowledge. Jackson helped her plan strategies and improve security. Together, they created a stronger, safer, and more united world. As time passed, Lily felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had faced her past, discovered the truth, and honored the human who had shaped her life. She knew that courage, loyalty, and sacrifice were not just words. They were actions that could change lives, shape leaders, and unite worlds. One evening, as they stood together in the palace gardens, Jackson spoke softly. You have grown strong, Lily. You have taken the lessons of the past and turned them into strength for the future. That is the mark of true leadership. Lily smiled. I learned from the best, she said, looking at him. You taught me courage, patience, and care. You showed me that true strength comes from protecting others even when it is hard or dangerous. Jackson's expression softened. You are strong because of yourself. I only guided you, but seeing you live, lead, and inspire, that is the reward. That is why I stayed, and that is why I remain here beside you. Lily felt a warmth in her chest. She realized that the story of her life, from fear and hiding to strength and leadership, was also the story of Jackson's courage. He had shaped her past, influenced her present, and would continue to guide her future. Together they had bridged worlds, taught lessons of bravery, and created a bond that would endure. And as the twin moons shone over the city of Jarin, Lily felt a deep sense of peace, purpose, and hope. The human who had protected her childhood was finally revealed, recognized, and walking beside her. The past had been honored, the present strengthened, and the future filled with possibility. For the first time in her life, Lily knew that courage, care, and loyalty could change the course of history. She had survived, she had learned, and she had honored the one who had made it possible. And together, Lily and Jackson would face the future, united by trust, respect, and the enduring power of human bravery. The palace was quiet, the city serene, and the moons high in the sky. But in Lily's heart, there was a light that would never fade, a light shaped by courage, guided by loyalty, and brightened by the human who had protected her childhood. She knew that no matter what came next, she was ready, and she was not alone.